one of these meetings, probably 16 years ago, and literally one person showed up. And it was myself, Dave Bowman, who was my predecessor mentor, and Sam McKinney, who was long retired FWC fisheries biologist back in the one person showed up. So this is great to see this much interest and so many people here to learn about the drawdown and tell us, give us your comments. A couple of ground rules, if you will. First off, we want to respect everybody's opinion. We know there's strong opinions on both sides of restoration versus retention of the reservoir. We're not here to solve that 50-year plus conundrum tonight. We're here to talk about a temporary drawdown of the reservoir. So if we can stay on topic, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, want to ask everybody, when you do make comments, please limit them to 3 minutes or less in the name of brevity and to give everyone else the right to speak, the opportunity. We do want to try and get out of here at 8 o'clock. Everybody has lives and homes to go to. Again, my name is Mickey Thomas. Also, some of you have written comment cards. We're happy to take those. I think we may have run out. I don't know if you don't need the whole form, if you'll share it with your friends. Because we're trying to get maybe some more copies made if possible. It's late. I think the office may be closed here already. But we do appreciate it. If you have another piece of paper, write your name, your contact information, and your comments on there. Give them to the gentleman over there or myself. We'll be happy to take them. A couple other introductions. Sitting next to me here, this is Mr. Larry Folks. He's the Bureau Chief of District 3 for the Florida Park Service, over about 33 parks in this kind of east central part of the state. Gentleman over there standing up by the door, Robert Euro, he's the Assistant Bureau Chief. And then I've got John Dehoff and Kelly Conley over there. John's the assistant to my position over the eastern part of the Greenway, from Eureka to the St. Johns River. Kelly's the assistant manager from Eureka to State Road 200 in Marion County. Also, we have Eric Nadgett in the back. I'm going to put you on the spot with Fish and Wildlife Commission. Eric's a fisheries research biologist, so can handle technical fisheries questions if those come up. And I know we've got several other experts and different agency people here. I know we've got Commissioner here from Putnam County. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Okay? We'll get started. Is everybody good with asking everybody to limit your comments to 3 minutes and all those kind of things, one person at a time, and staying on topic? All right, great. Okay. First, the drawdown history. We've had, this would entail the 18th drawdown of the reservoir in the last 50 years, close to it going back to 1970. We've done, let's see, 1, 2, this will be the 7th drawdown to the 11-foot level. We did the first one back in 98, and so this will be the second one to that level. Which dewaters about 2/3 of the reservoir. And it goes from basically at 18 feet, the reservoir is at 9,200 acres. And then when it goes down to 11 feet, it's at 4,300 feet of area. Okay. Oh yes, and silence your cell phones, please. Okay. The drawdown schedule. Does anybody have any questions on the drawdown history at this point? Okay. The drawdown schedule. We were handing those out at the door. Was everybody who needed one of those able to get one? I know we had them at a previous agency stakeholder meeting we had, and those were given to all the people who attended that approximately a month ago. Basically, the schedule, most of you, or many of you have in front of you, is October the 1st to the 15th, lower the reservoir from the 20-foot surcharge level down to 18 feet. And then mid-October, a month from now, begin the formal drawdown phase from the 18-foot level down to the 11-foot level, approximately a month later. And all this is subject to weather, inflows, rainfall. You know, we get a tropical system that could dramatically change things if we get a major tropical event going into this. We've got several of them lined up out here in the Atlantic right now. And then get down to that 11-foot level. Usually around the 13-foot level is when the temporary boat ramps at Kenwood and at Orange Springs become usable. And our staff will get out there and get those scraped off and ready for the public to use. And then basically the water stays down through February, the end of February, and we start rebuilding to the 18-foot level starting usually around March 1st. Okay. And then the target for getting it back to that 18-foot level at the latest is April 15th. One time, since I've been managing the reservoir and managing drawdowns, I think this is the third or fourth one I've done. In 2012, probably many of you remember the incredible drought we were in, which was, I think, the lowest flows for Silver Springs on record. Zero flow out of Moss Bluff started in January of 12 and went for 3 straight years with zero flow out of the upper Ocklawaha. And we did not get the water level back to the 18-foot level until it was early May. We finally started getting rain that year. But the Ocklawaha was clean clear and about that deep. It was sad to see. But it was silver, I remember, was what, 230 CFS, something like that. And historic average is close to 1,000, at least 700 to 800 in recent times. So the vagaries of weather. And then after we get up to the 18-foot level, going up to the 20-foot surcharge level, and then begin normal operations at that point. And the drawdown is officially over once we get back to the 18-foot level around mid-April. Okay. Any questions on any of that? Okay. The next item we got on here is special fish game regulation needs. Many of you all know, because I know there's a lot of familiar faces in here. Historically, I would say the last at least 4 or 5 drawdowns that I've managed drawdowns, 3 or 4, FWC's had a special regulation, an executive order that closes the take of largemouth bass during a certain, usually about a 2.5-month window, 2.5 to 3 month window during the drawdown, because basically the fish are in 1/5 the volume of water that they're typically in when the reservoir's up at normal operating levels. So, to my knowledge, that's planned to be done again. I haven't heard anything contrary to that at this point. So we do expect that there will be a closure on the take of largemouth bass, as has happened during the last, far back as I can remember, number of drawdowns. Okay, any questions on that special regulation? Yes, sir.
Is that going to be when the temporary, is that going to take effect while the temporary ramps are open? Is it, I know in the past that's what it's been, is when the temporary ramps become usable, that's when the keeping of largemouth becomes.
Yeah, it usually kicks in around as we get close to that 11-foot level and runs through the drawdown until it starts refilling or substantially refilled. And there's that time period that I'm sure some of you know, when we get below about 16, 15, that the regular ramps aren't usable, and then there's usually about a week or so in there as the water's going down, a week, 2 weeks, that, you know, before we get to the 11-foot level or the 13-foot level where we can then get the ramps, the temporary ramps open and make it accessible to the public. We try and do it as quickly as we can. Our phones ring off the hook. Everybody wants to know when we can get out there. And usually when they're out there working to get those ramps open and we go to grab lunch real quickly and come back, somebody's driven a 2-wheel drive truck out there. There's still that much water standing on parts of the ramp because it's a race to see who can get out there first, I guess. And especially with cell phones and selfies where they can take a picture, they were the first ones out there. Okay. Any other questions on that, or did that answer your question, sir? Yes, ma'am.
I've missed the item before about the drawdown. How do you decide how long they'll be?
Basically following the protocol that was used for decades before I got here, of doing them, starting them in the winter time. There was an experimental study done. UF did it. Dan Shireman and Bill Haller, both of whom are retired. I'm not even sure. Is Shireman still alive, Eric? He is. Okay. So they're both still alive, but I'm sure they're both like professor emeritus types at this point. I know Bill Haller is, he's an aquatic plant guy, and Professor Shireman is a fisheries person. And they did a 4-year study of experimental drawdowns from 79 to 83 that the Corps funded back when the Barge Canal, and it was still a Corps project. And so that, they did different length drawdowns at different times of the year and came up with the regime that we use today. And so that's when I started in working as a ranger, got hired as one of the first people when the Greenway evolved out of the former Barge Canal project and had come to the state. I started a little over 25 years ago, and pretty much have followed that protocol ever since. Okay. Any other questions at this point? Yes, sir.
what is the schedule for the surcharge following the drawdown, and why isn't it, prior to it, you say a 2 to 3 week surcharge, but afterwards it's kind of left open?
Yeah, a lot of it depends on wind direction, because when you refill and you have a lot of stuff sitting there drying out, oxidizing, and you refill, and that stuff is more buoyant, it comes up. If you got the wrong wind direction, it could blow into places where you may not want it, so you might not want to do it, keep it up, the water up as long, or you may delay bringing the water up till you get the right prevailing wind directions, typically to push floating logs. There won't be a lot of aquatic plants, we think, at this point after it's been down for that long. But anything you get that floats up, you want to be able to try and put it and have it stranded on the shoreline in locations where it won't cause a lot of problems. I'm sorry.
Can I follow up on that?
Sure.
Is the target for that also like 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah, and it depends. Just like right now, we had floating plants out there. We've had a lot of prevailing east-northeast winds, which are pretty favorable. Puts a lot of that at the dam. Keeps Kenwood stays clean, which has been plugged earlier this year when we started getting some north and easterly winds, primarily north for Kenwood. We had plants in the Barge Canal, about 30 acres earlier, that had to be treated, a couple months ago. Then we had about another 30 acres blew in a few weeks ago. We were getting ready to potentially have those treated, and then the winds off Dorian came in, started kicking out of the east-northeast. So it's basically, a lot of this has to be factored in with the weather. And I have a crystal ball on my desk and a calendar, but it doesn't tell me what the weather's going to be doing. A month, 2 months, if it did, I probably would have Jim Cantori's job. But anyway, that's, there's just a lot of variables. So we put all these in here as time frames, and then at the bottom of the schedule, as it has in bold letters, this is all dependent upon weather variables. Just like I said a few minutes ago, if we get a major tropical storm coming, don't want to lower the reservoir to a low level and then have a major tropical storm come when the waters are warm, dissolved oxygen's low, and you get a bunch of runoff with low, a lot of organics in it that could increase biological oxygen demand and exacerbate conditions for a fish kill. That's what we're trying to avoid, because we're trying to improve the fisheries habitat out there, expose a lot of that stuff so that resident and migratory birds can access it and make it something. It's one of the few things I've told people above my level that both sides of the retention restoration issue agree on, is everybody seems to like the drawdowns. So, yes.
Have you ever looked into using aquatic harvesters to remove the unwanted vegetation rather than spraying? Yeah,
it's been looked at. There's so much log debris out there that would cause problems for those machines. That's been one of the reasons I don't think it's been done to this extent. I think the Corps might have experimented with it a long time ago, but because of the floating logs and all the structure out there. Also, mechanical treatments are typically far more expensive than herbicides, and well, those are the primary reasons. Yeah.
I think that maybe we should readdress that and look into it in this day and age, because there's a lot more better improved harvesters, and they can work much quicker and it's much more cost effective.
Yeah, one other thing too, and this is kind of makes me, and I work for state government, scratch my head, is I talked to FWC. There's an aquatic plant biologist I work with on all this stuff and coordinate, because the funding for aquatic plant control comes through FWC's and basically the management section. And because we were looking at doing some work out there on some tussocks at Orange Springs when they popped up from the previous drawdown, and it requires a dredge and fill permit. It's interesting that you can spray them and they can die and fall to the bottom, but if you chop them up, you can fall to the bottom. Or you can harvest them and remove them, of course, but that's, it's typically far more expensive per acre. Yes, sir.
Are you going to be doing any environmental economic studies before and after the drawdown?
I'm not aware of any at this point. UF did a big one that was funded by Florida Defenders of the Environment about 2 or 3 years ago, I think.
Right.
Yeah, and I haven't heard of anybody doing it now. I know this came up at the agency stakeholder meeting about a month ago, where somebody asked a question about increased usage during drawdowns, and even though it seems busy, hectic, and I know there's very strong opinions about restoration versus retention in here, and I try to respect both sides of that. But to me, looking, and this was just a cursory look at the vehicle counts, because that's how we collect visitation data typically, is by vehicle counts, other than boats that pass through the lock that we can physically count, and people coming in and out of the campground that we have staff 7 days a week. The visitation is about the same during drawdowns versus non-drawdown years. Again, that was a cursory look on my part. When this came up, and the previous county commissioner here, had asked about that, but that was, what I saw.
Well, what I had in mind was that the water quality before and after the drawdown.
Okay. Well, there was a water study done, most recent water quality study done on the reservoir, river systems, Ocklawaha, St.
Okay,
John's.
follow you.
And it was done by Water Management District, and it used data, most recent data that had been collected, and it was basically, we did several series, I think it was 2 different pre, during, and post drawdown water sampling periods. Pretty intensive. I think we were doing them every 2 weeks during the drawdown and monthly on either side. And that went on for, seems like about 6 years or so. And then the study was written by the Water Management District, and basically what came out of that was that the net increased load to the lower St. Johns River, if the dam was breached, was going to be 300 metric tons per year of increased nitrogen and 8 metric tons of phosphorus per year on average if the dam was removed. And again, that's what the study says. And I've got copies of that study that, yes, Lisa?
That study also, though, didn't take into the capacity of the forested floodplain.
Okay.
And so it was a very conservative study. So if
Okay.
you work that
Yeah.
into it, it's much different picture.
I know it was supposed to be done very conservatively, so, but that study's available, the Water Management District has it on their website. That's the most recent study on water quality.
And did you say there's not going to be additional testing,
There's
sampling?
none that I'm aware of at this point. The sampling program was stopped a few years ago, I think around the time that study came out. Yes?
That Henderson study also said that there was no reason not to issue the ERP,
Okay.
that because of the water quality.
Right, and the
And
ER,
that, and that some mitigation could be done, like removing shad, out of St. John, which is happening again.
right, okay. And the ERP she's referencing is Environmental Resource Permit, which was a permit applied for by DEP back in the late 90s originally, to pursue at that time partial restoration of the Ocklawaha River, which is what was approved by the Governor Cabinet in 1995 from Lon Childs. Hang on one second. Yes.
I was reviewing some of the studies that you're referring to, and I do see a lot of data for nutrients and physical characteristics, but I see very little, if any, data for synthetic organics, like herbicides, pesticides, of that nature. Are you aware of any studies there, either at spring discharge?
I'm not, that has been done
haven't
in
seen
modern
it.
times, and I do know the district's done some work out there looking at the springs. A lot of people go out there, different agencies to look around. We sometimes get asked to do tours by different agencies and media during the drawdowns. They attract a lot of attention. But I'm not aware of any about looking at yes.
You know where the samples were taken for the water quality study?
Yeah, we have all that data. There was a whole series of stations through the reservoir, from the dam back upstream to Eureka, and then there's also stations, gauging stations and sampling sites that have been done for decades that are part of a regular protocol that either the Water Management District or our department does out of the Jacksonville office. Yeah.
Hey, so are there long-term studies of what it costs with the toxins that we're putting on the river all the time?
As far as long-term studies, we've got the aquatic plant management history, and we save a lot of money by doing water level fluctuations.
The question is, yeah, if I go to the cashier and say I want a harvester or I want a bag of glyphosate, that's an easy one, but long-term, what is it gonna cost us to deal with all the toxins that we constantly use?
I don't have the answer to that question.
Okay, I just wondered if you know.
I'm just trying to, what I was gonna tell you is, I look back at the previous 19 years, what we spent on aquatic plant treatments, and it's averaged $10,000 a year over the previous 19 years. by comparison, Lake Russo on the west end of the Greenway, which is a 4,000 acre reservoir roughly, it's over 100 years old, half the size, less than half the size of Rodman. I've seen, and the water level stays at a fixed level of 27.5 feet above mean sea level. And I've seen them spend over $1 million in a year treating aquatic plants on a reservoir less than half the size of Rodman.
But we don't have long-term, what it costs, what the toxicity costs.
No, ma'am.
The flumoxazine, was that used in Kenwood? Was that with the plan or did it blow up?
I'd have to go back and look honestly, because it's changing, we'll get ready to have treatment done, and the wind changes and things blows out, I would have to go back and look.
So I was looking at the safety sheets, and it said it was toxic to bluegill and aquatic.
Okay. I know it's supposed to be much more selective based on conversations I've had. I'm not a chemist, but with the aquatic plant biologist I work with FWC, it's supposed to be much more selective as far as native plants, spatterdock, and this kind of thing. Not here.